will be allowed to come into work. We will encourage staff to continue to work at home if possible, including within the business and the private sector, making the best use of technology that is now available. For personalized services such as mechanics, artisans, hair salons that own their own workshop or workstations, provided they clearly adhere to non-pharmaceutical interventions, they are allowed to operate from now on, but must ensure the wearing of a face mask when selling goods or providing services, must ensure provision of sanitizers and appropriate PPEs to their workers. They must limit the number of workers and customers within their premises, and state and local government authorities are requested to please ensure and monitor compliance. Supermarkets, there's no major change for supermarkets, neither is there any major change in markets, apart from the fact that local authorities will continue to define the day and time for opening of shops. Hotels may reopen, but must observe all mandatory non-pharmaceutical interventions. Restaurants other than those in hotels must remain closed for eat-ins, but are allowed to prioritize and continue practicing the takeaway system. Bars, gyms, cinemas, and nightclubs are closed until further evaluation. We will continue to support the agricultural sector to ensure food security for our citizens, and in this regard, farmers are requested to please go ahead with their normal activities, provided they observe all mandatory non-pharmaceutical interventions. Schools. All schools to remain closed until further evaluation. The Federal Ministry of Education is instructed to work with schools to start the process of preparing students that require exiting exams, i.e. certifying students, to allow them to take exams in the next phase, early in the next phase of the lifting of the lockdown. But for the moment, schools are to remain closed. I have already mentioned places of worship. Restricted opening will apply, subject to the guidelines issued by the PTF as well as the protocols agreed by respective state governments working with religious leaders. We expect all mandatory non-pharmaceutical interventions to apply. Recreational parks and communal sports will remain closed until further evaluation. And for funerals, we are still limiting this to 20 people, including close family, with physical distancing to be adhered to, as well as some hand washing. Finally, state governments and security agencies are enjoined to ensure effective and strict enforcement of these guidelines while respecting the exemptions that have been approved by Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have been presented this afternoon with details of the next steps. We are already observing an adjustment in the format we are maintaining today. So we'll take the questions from gentlemen of the press, but we advise strongly that you focus the questions on issues raised in the speech of the chairman and the elaboration done by the national coordinator. So, let's start.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Friday Okerebe. I'm a reporter with Channels TV. I would like to start with the Minister of Education. Now that the restriction on reopening of schools still continues, how do you intend to manage the situation of Nigerian students operating other academic calendar other than ours? I'm talking about international schools operating in Nigeria. We have some French schools, we have some American schools, and even some British schools that are operating in Nigeria. The academic calendar, they don't run Nigeria calendar. And these Nigerians who are in these schools are already a semester, almost a semester ahead of their counterparts in their 14 days ultimatum. And some of the reasons why they issued that ultimatum has to do with the lack of PPEs in some of the hospitals where they work. Also, they talk about the non-implementation of the special hazard allowance for those who are in the forefront of COVID-19. How are you managing the situation, especially knowing how, if they go on strike, how it can actually impact negatively on the fight? And lastly, the Minister of Interior, please, I would like you to also respond to this. Over the weekend, there is a report that the Chinese medical team have been smuggled out of the country. What is the update, please? Thank you.
Gentlemen of the press, please.